Hello and welcome back to VHawks podcast, the no call face mask, and Geno Smith giving himself a face mask.
The
It
football
was
is
a rough
actually at
week.
his chest, so this is just him tripping.
Ah, yeah. There was a lot of that in your game,
Yeah.
but at least you have the rain to have that as an excuse. The ref did not have his cane for blindness as an excuse there. So, wow, all the way to 8. Okay. That's interesting. We beat the Packers head to head, who you have one ahead of us, so interesting. All right, well, I dropped the Chiefs because one, the Lions are clearly the best team, and I believe in God, not Taylor Swift. So Commanders go to 2.
Well, I was about to say, why aren't the
Um,
Commanders one?
so well, I like yeah, but the Lions just stampede everyone.
That's fair.
So
I
and they
kept the
played
Chiefs
higher
at
quality
one
opponents.
just because is my rule. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions, they still haven't lost. Um, they just got DeAndre Hopkins. I can't really say that
Yeah.
they're not the best team in the league right now, at least team-wise. Lions at two, they're the best team in the NFC, probably the best talent-wise team in the NFL other than quarterback. Um, Commanders have it
The
three.
numbers say he is the best quarterback.
Okay, Tyler, who would you take in the Super Bowl, Jared Goff or Patrick Mahomes?
Depends on whose offensive line I'm getting.
Both have the same offensive line.
Oh, I'll take Mahomes over that. But if you give them each their respective offensive lines, I'll take Jared Goff.
Well, that's not a part of the argument. You don't say Tom Brady
So,
versus Patrick Mahomes, and they
yeah,
also
no,
get their
I get what you
respective
mean.
offensive
The
lines.
clutch gene is there, but the Lions don't need the clutch gene because they're just gonna beat you. Like,
Well, I wasn't talking. Okay, never mind. All right, Commanders at three. We thought maybe I thought. Okay, scratch what I just said. I didn't know how Jaden Daniels' injury was going to impact him. You did see a few throws that he wasn't able to get fully into, which I think partial of that rib injury. His torso is just not fully healed. Hopefully, as time goes on, he'll be able to um, basically just get his throwing power back. Um, Bills at four, they look pretty good. Um, I have Steelers at five. I just feel like that defense is going to be an issue. Now they did give up some um, deep runs, especially in the second half, but I can't fault them where they're at right now. Texans, I still have them around top five or so, just because we've seen weeks where they haven't looked good. We've seen weeks that they've been meh, but they're still one of the top record teams in the AFC. Packers, Vikings, you could probably just flip them or whatever. Um,
I was
they're
gonna say
both
we got the head-to-head match, but I think you overreacted with definitely us and the Ravens, maybe even the Steelers putting them that high. But
well, the Ravens, that's just an ugly loss, and I don't care about you play down to your opponent. That's one of those things that you can't use as an excuse. That's one of those things you need to overcome. And that's a ugly loss to lose to a team that just traded Amari Cooper, and then you just let Jameis Winston go up and down the field on you. That defense was never able to get itself settled. I feel like Mike McDonald helped make that defense last year, and now they're lost. You see in a lot of plays where that defense, they're still moving around when the snap occurs because they can't get themselves set. And you saw
yeah,
that on Sunday. Um, Eagles a dominant win, but I want to see more of that consistently. Vikings I brought down just because you're on a two-game skid. If you win this week, okay, and probably start climbing you back up. But a two-game loss, I have to put a couple teams ahead of you that are have more momentum, including the Packers right now.
well, I was gonna say it's just we were at 3 on y'all's list, I think, because I overreacted with the Lions game putting us at 4, which is why I didn't have to drop us this week. Um, because the Ravens lost too, so I was just like, I'll put the Ravens at 5 and the bump the Commanders up to 2, and Vikings just stay where they are. Um, So yeah, us being at 8, I don't know. I feel like we should be at 7 because we have the head-to-head against the Packers. And my thing is on my list. My 1 through 5 has been the same pretty much once the Commanders join the top 5. The Packers and Texans are there because, like, yeah, they've got a lot of wins, but who have they really played? Like, the Packers are listed first because they beat the Texans head to head, but again, like, who have they really played? I think each team has beaten one good team, um, and both lost to the Vikings. So, is what it is. Um, the Bills, the same thing, but they lost to the Texans. So it's kind of like a three um way version of that. I just don't want to have 3 teams at 6 because that's kind of weird, you know. Um, but the Bills, they really haven't played quality opponents. The Bills haven't. No offense to y'all. Um,
Defense
but
take.
like, okay, they've only played the Seahawks and the Texans, and they lost to the Texans. So that's the that's the only thing they've done. The Steelers, I'm still keeping them there. I need to see the consistency. I get like Russ 2 games, good, but it's against New Jersey. So you never really know. The Rams are healthy now. That was my only one surprise here was putting the Rams in the top 10 with them having a losing record.
Well,
Again,
technically you
difference between a
have them
bad,
at 10.
huh?
Technically you have them at 10.
This is correct. Technically I do, but they're listed at 9. Um, but no, I mean, even with a losing record, like they're finally healthy. There's a difference between a bad team and an injured team. They're an injured team. I think they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with, and I'm calling it now. They're gonna win the West. So unless the 49ers can heal up and are buyers at the deadline, but I don't think so.
Question
I
is,
don't
can they
foresee
stay
that happening.
healthy? Because we've seen them go back and forth with injuries. Um, Matthew
Yeah, that's the main
Stafford's
thing.
been
If they stay
healthy
healthy
so
too.
far, though we've seen in the past few seasons he's dealt with injuries. Falcons, I just refuse to put them in the top 10 right now because even though they beat a Buccaneers squad that is injured, and
Yeah.
last week they got decimated by the Seahawks. I would not call them
Yeah.
a top 10 team, right? Or I guess for you, top 12 team right now. Um,
Yeah, I mean, but I put the bird teams there, and I guess technically they're at 11 and 12. But I put the birds there just because they're both inconsistent, but they both have winning records and have shown up really well when they actually do decide to show up. And the Falcons are the clear winner of their division since they already beat the Bucks twice, once when they're healthy and once when they're not. So it's like, okay, well, you're 2 games ahead of the Bucks at this point because they have one less win than you, and they would have to get um another win in order to overtake you. And the Eagles have looked better, so really just depends. And their defense actually stepped up, even with Darius Slay coming out of the game. Um, they were able to hold the Bengals to 17, and Bengals haven't looked good that year, but this year. But I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, always a threat. But anyway, yeah, I definitely think you dropped the purple teams way too far. Maybe put the Steelers too high, but that's all I'd say about yours.
yeah, just looking at yours, top the top eight's always like debatable, and then just the end of it's just your choice and your preference of how you feel about a team. Um, like Rams, I still need to see more. They're under 500 right now. Falcons, I need to see them actually have some consistency. Um, and that's kind of the thing for the Packers Texans, where I kind of kept them around the same. Vikings, as I said, it's just you're on a two losses in a row, and just with that, I gotta let you slip some. I didn't ding you much for the Detroit loss because I had them as a top 5 team for most of the season. Um,
Yeah, because you put it as a 3, so I was expecting us to be where you put the Steelers this week, if I'm being honest. Because again, like we beat the Texans and the Packers head to head, and the Packers beat the Texans. So
I'm
it's
not
like
doing this based off of head to head, which I
kind
think
of just kind
you're
of
putting
it
a
just
lot of weight
shows
into
up, dude.
that. It's just where do I see you as of this week?
That's fair. That's
Like
fair.
there's teams that like the Rams earlier in the season when they lost to the Cardinals, we don't see that same Rams or Cardinals team as we do now. There's teams earlier in the season that were dealing with injuries or weren't dealing with injuries where we see it differently now. You base
Yeah.
yours a lot off of head to head. I base mine off of where are you this week?
Yeah. I base it off of regular season performance and where you are now a little bit, like what I saw. Like because I haven't like the Chiefs, like they're undefeated, but again, like I haven't seen them like completely shellac good teams. I've seen that from the Lions, or beat the Vikings by two. But again, Vikings were previously undefeated, so that makes sense. Commanders, they literally God was on their side on Sunday, and they're 6-2 in a division where people had the Eagles winning it, or some delusional people had the Cowboys winning it again. Um, you know, I dropped the Vikings too far last week, so I kept them there. Ravens, I didn't want to drop them too bad because again, like it's a divisional opponent with that I had to change a quarterback. So everybody's been through that. Um, yeah, like I said, Packers, Texans, and Bills. I could have honestly put Packers, Texans, and Bills at the same number because again, the only question is like you beat one good team,
You're
and you've
turning
lost
into
to
Brandon Perna, Tyler.
at
Stop
least one good
it.
team. No, I think you are with the drops at least, but.
I don't have more than 10 teams in my top 10 power rankings.
I don't know, man. I can't put I can't really I don't see any difference. Like the Packers and Texans played again, it's a coin flip. If the Falcons and Eagles played right now, it's a coin flip. Honestly, if the Texans and Bills played again, it's a coin flip. So
There's a reason why it's called top 10, Tyler. Come on.
yeah. Oh well. It's all
Next
good.
week, next week I'm holding you to it. You need to keep it at 10.
What if the Packers and Texans both win or they both lose?
You can keep them at the same number tied, but only have 10 teams.
Ah, so I would have to have 1 through 9 if that were the case.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Or no, you would still have it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. That works. I'll try and do that.
Okay.
All right. Include more head-to-head matchups in yours next time.
Okay. All right.
All right. Stay tuned for our predictions. It actually looks like it'll be a pretty easy week. We may have one or two differences like last week, and that should be it. So, all right. Uh,
Peace.
Skull.